Hi, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon. Welcome to our WebEx session. I am Kamal Makai from the channel team, and on today, I will moderate our events. The WebEx session's topic is transforming and optimizing business operations with Broadcom enterprise software. Our special guest and the presenter is Piyush Vakkani, our dedicated product professional. They will guide you on today. And in the next 60 minutes on the presentation level, Piyush will share you the details of the planned topic. The event, as always, will be recorded, and later we will share the recording with you. If you have any question, then please use the chat window. Piyush, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Kalman. Thank you for the introduction. Let me just go ahead and share my screen. Guys, just let me know if you can see my screen.
Yes, I see.
Okay, great. So just 1 second, guys. Yeah. All right, guys. So I would be, going through a lot of content today in the webinar. And what I encourage you is please ask questions, we will take pause and we will try to answer as much as possible. So Kalman, if you want me, for a pause, I will do it, or I will try to do it from my side as well. Right. So
please follow. It's much more better because in this case you can answer dynamically to the questions.
Okay. No issues.
Okay.
All right. So
okay.
Yeah. So guys, there's a lot of content. Let's get started, right? So today we would be covering everything related to enterprise software, right? But before we start, I will just do a very quick overview about Broadcom on the call. Who doesn't know what Broadcom is? So Broadcom traditionally started as a semiconductor company. So the chips actually that you see in the mobile phones and the devices, example Apple or Samsung phones, you will find some kind of Broadcom chips there. And there is a saying that more than 99% of the devices that where internet traffic follows has some kind of Broadcom chips in there. So that's actually the saying. But Broadcom shifted or pivoted in 2018 after when Broadcom acquired CA, and that's how the enterprise software came into the picture. So today we would be going through major components of the enterprise software. And then I came as an enterprise software CA Technologies acquisition. And then in 2019, Broadcom acquired Symantec. So that's how the cybersecurity software came into the Broadcom portfolio. And in 2023, Broadcom acquired VMware, where the virtualization infrastructure cloud software came into the Broadcom business. Right. So this is just in a nutshell what Broadcom is. I don't want to spend too much time on that. But let's deep dive directly into the Broadcom enterprise software. So Broadcom enterprise software is actually helping customers innovate and operate. It's all about digital transformation. It's all about changing the operating model. It's all about planning, testing, development, and operations, right? So when we talk about the Broadcom enterprise software, we have the agile operations and IMS. There are multiple divisions there, but in a nutshell, 3 areas is what our focus is going to be. So we will focus on the planning cycle, the continuous testing or the development cycle, and then the operation cycle, right? So these are the 3 areas which our software would be covering, and Broadcom actually provides software in these 3 areas, which is related to the CA portfolio or the enterprise software portfolio, right? But everything actually starts with the ideas, and then you see the outcomes that actually is delivered. But in this tool chain, we find that the customers are using multiple software. They are planning, some for operations, and you will see some examples down here. We call it value chain or the tool chain. So we can replace the software or we can integrate with the software. So that's the message we wanna pass here, right? So when we are talking about transformation and optimization, right, we are doing transformation and optimization in 2 areas. We are doing this in a business transformation and infrastructure transformation. These are the 2 areas that we target for our customers, right? So when we talk about business transformation, we are talking about going flat. How many times you have heard customers are adopting agile, or they are removing their middle management. They're going flat organizations. They're becoming more dynamic. And how many times you have heard that there is a lot of reorganization happen in the companies. So we support that, so the industrial way of doing things is more process centric, more silos, more hierarchical, scarcity of resources, too many approvals needed, to get things done. So that's but if the customer, some of the groups or departments are following the legacy method or the new digital method, our software will help us with both, right? Similarly, there is another transformation that we talk about is infrastructure, and that we support is infrastructure transformation. So how many times have you heard from customers that they're adopting, a cloud or SaaS or open AI, or open source or internet-based applications or software-defined networks, right? So these are what we hear from our customers, regularly basis, right? So even if you are doing legacy type of running legacy type of infrastructure or running modern infrastructure, we are supporting both of them. So we support in the transformation journey. We also support in running the operations of this infrastructure, right? So these are the two areas actually that we'll be covering today, and all the products would be supporting these two areas. Okay, so let's start with the planning and innovation area. Okay, the first software that we have is called Clarity. So Clarity, as in the name, it says provide clear picture. So what clear picture it's providing is in terms of projects. So Clarity actually started more than 25 years ago as a project management software. So you are able to track projects, you are able to create different types and styles of projects, you are able to, let's say, make IT projects and track and monitor them. So it started that, and also Clarity supporting scheduling and staffing. So let's say if I need in June, I need 10 Java developers, or I need 2 machine learning engineers, or I need business analysts. So you would be able to do allocation and scheduling staffing on these projects, right? If it started in December, you need people to deliver tasks, to deliver milestones. So Clarity supports that. Clarity also supports the portfolio management. So if you have multiple projects or programs or products as a portfolio, you can manage that portfolio as well. And also you can monitor if how your portfolio is performing, right? Project portfolio. And similarly, you can run mega projects, or we call programs. So if you have a bunch of projects that you can name it as a program, you can run them in Clarity, you can track them in Clarity, in terms of cost, in terms of budget, in terms of resources, and different metrics you are able to report on them, right? And then you are able to do product management. So you can build products, IT products, right? So let's say the product has a release cycle, it has some iterations, it has some life cycle. So the whole life cycle of the product management also can be done in Clarity. And last but not the least is demand management. So you can run your ideas, you can run your initiatives, you can document them, create business case, get the approvals, right? So these are some of the things that Clarity can do, right? But there are other use cases that I will discuss, what other things Clarity can do beyond project or portfolio program management. So what we are seeing from the customers is they want to manage their strategic portfolio. They want to manage their strategic initiatives, or they want to manage and monitor their objectives, their goals. So you are able to do that in Clarity as well, right? So in a nutshell, as I mentioned, you build your strategy, your company's strategy in Clarity, or you can build your objectives and track them in Clarity. You can make plans, you can do planning cycle in terms of people, in terms of funding, in Clarity, and you can execute your plans in the form of projects or programs or any piece of work, right? So that's basically Clarity in a nutshell. Who are the end users of Clarity? Who would be using Clarity? So typical users that we come across is the project managers. They would be using Clarity. They would use Clarity to spin up different types of projects and programs and things like that. So they would use Clarity. They will actually make sure that they monitor and track and run status report on different levels in Clarity. So these people are the typical end users. The other end users are the resource manager. So resource manager, they want to find people, and then they want to staff your projects or programs or products, right? They want to bring work to the people, work to the people. They want to allocate some time. They want to allocate some tasks, so that resource people are responsible. They would do that. They would use Clarity. And we have finance manager. So anything to do with the money, What's the cost of that project? What's the cost of that program? What's the cost of building that product? How many labor is needed? What hardware is needed? What software is needed? So anything related to budgets, allocation, approvals, cost plans, benefit plans, in terms of dollar value, the finance manager will go and allocate that funds into Clarity, right? And then you can have developers, teams. They can use Clarity. They can put their tasks and they can put their time in there. So they can say if they have done with, let's say, 50% of the task, or 100% they have done the task, or 10%, they can do task management, and they can also do time management. So let's say if there is a job that needs to be done in 40 hours, if they put 40 hours or for 50 hours, so you can do time tracking also, how much time has been spent on some work, on some project or a program, so that these developers, business analysts, engineers, end users, they're going to use Clarity for that. Okay. And then we have a program manager. So the program manager is responsible to correlate and to accumulate all the projects inside the program and look at in holistic level. How the program is performing. Is it on time and on budget? Do you need resources? Is there a risk? So on a program side, you can do, even same like portfolio, they can do the same. And then what about the approvals? If let's say, you need approval to go from one stage to another stage, if you want approval for the sign-offs, you want approvals, for example, to allocate more funds, more budget, or more people. So these approvals, these business processes also can be taken care in Clarity, and typically executives would provide those approvals, right, in Clarity. So again, guys, this is not the full list. This is the partial list of the users, right, that typical users that use Clarity, right? And there are multiple modules which we will cover in brief, right? But Clarity is coming in two flavors. There is an on-prem, and then there is SaaS flavor. Is the exact same thing. So you can go and you can you can go and you can use the exact same thing. On-prem is just going to be installation in your private cloud or data center, and SaaS is just going to be as a service, software as a service. Okay. And if I will tell you, one of the major things what Clarity does is integrations. So Clarity can integrate with third-party systems, right? It can, let's say, at a customer where we usually typically go, some customers say that I have multiple products to run my projects, to do my financial part, to do my task management, to do my defect management, to do some type of work management. So they have multiple tools. Clarity provides an umbrella of consolidation. So for example, Clarity can connect to my MSP, Microsoft Projects, and bring in the work breakdown structure. Clarity can connect with Oracle or SAP, and it can get some financial data or some HR data, right? Clarity can connect with Jira or some other software, Rally software, and it can get some agile items, right? It can connect with Power BI. So there are more than 70 plus integrations available in Clarity that can connect, and that becomes an umbrella for all the projects and resources and demand and things like that, right? So that's in a nutshell what Clarity is about. If I want to show some templates, if I want to show some samples, these are some sample dashboards that you can get out of Clarity. Okay, as I mentioned, Clarity is more than project management software. So Clarity is also in strategy and objective management. So if you want to measure your objectives, if you want to measure your outcomes, on a weekly basis, on a quarterly basis, on a monthly basis, on a yearly basis, you are able to do that. So in this example, you can see that how much objectives you have met for that quarter or for the year or for the month, 32% or how much outcomes. And you can see here the linking between the objectives and strategy and products and things like that. So these links are very important. These associations are very important, which Clarity can provide you, right? The other thing that we usually come across is, the financial management, or the strategy management or initiatives. So in this example, as you can see over here, we have multiple initiatives. They're connected with strategy, they're connected with objective, and we can see how much that initiative is costing us. What's the cost of running that initiative, and what is the planning spending that we are doing, and what is already the spending we already did on the initiatives or on the objectives. So these types of examples you can expect from the Clarity. But Clarity also has another sister tool called Rally, and this Rally basically provides agile. projects. So if you want to run projects in Agile, if you want to run product management or portfolio management, anything Agile, you can do that in Raleigh. And Clarity and Raleigh connect together, but Clarity is basically master. But all the Agile items, you will find it in Raleigh. If you use, let's say, Kanban or Scrum, or if you use, let's say, SAFe methodology, you can do that in Raleigh, and you can manage your Agile items and Agile projects and portfolio in Raleigh. So this is something you can do. In this example, I can see which team is working on what in terms of Agile items, which features are they delivering, which defects are they delivering on this backlog or this quarter or on this sprint. These types of slicing and dicing the data, you can do that both in Clarity and Raleigh, right? But at the end of the day, you will see everything in Clarity. So at the end of the day, if you want to see your products, is in this example, if you want to see the OKRs, and if you want to see some kind of dashboard with some KPIs, you can do that. You can see them. Okay, so these are just some examples. Any questions so far, guys? Any questions? Are you with me? Am I going too fast? All right.
It's fine. It's fine, and no question came.
All right. Guys, keep that question coming. If you want to send it on chat or unmute yourself, let me know. Right. So let's go over some use cases. Right. So use case number one is strategic portfolio management. So when you are building your strategy, enterprise strategy, let's say you have a vision of 2030 or 2040 or 2035. In that vision, which are the strategic initiatives that you got? Which projects are you going to launch? Which projects are you going to finish? Which projects you're going to go live with? Which programs you're going to go live with, right? Which products you're going to build? So you can build your strategy with the strategic portfolio with Clarity. Okay. Similarly, you can build roadmaps. So if I ask you what's going to be coming next quarter, or what projects or programs you're going to be launching next month or next year, what's your cycle looks for 2026? What's your priority? Are you going to focus on AI? Are you going to focus on security? Which initiatives you're going to be launching? So you can do road mapping in Clarity. So road mapping basically provides you a portfolio of all your projects in the form of a roadmap. So all your key activities, key milestones can be grouped together in all the projects and ideas, and you can call it a roadmap. And you can see what's coming in the future. And you can change the roadmap depending on the direction that you get from management. So that's another area that we see in the strategy management, right? So these are some new areas. The other use case we see is project and program management. So what happens is project and program, you get business cases, and these business cases may be approved or rejected. If they're approved, they can be turned into the projects. If they're rejected, they're gone. So these business cases, these ideas, these initiatives can be documented, can go through an approval cycle and make that happen, right? The other things is once they're projects, then you can track them. You can have the KPIs. You can see what are the milestones, what's the budget, who are the key stakeholders. So you can monitor and track projects, let's say risk or risky ones, or delay in the project, or delay in the schedule or alignment. These things you can keep track and you can monitor. Similarly, inside the projects, you have a bunch of tasks, So if I need to know if the task is 10% done or 100% done or 20% done, or if the task is approved, or if the task is in progress or completed. So task management also you can do, and you can prioritize in Clarity, right? And the other things you can do is resource and team management. So what if I want to schedule or staff a project or staff a product or a program? I need to have the resources. If the resources are not available, you need to push the project, or you need to hire more, or you need to get contractors. So these team management, team planning, resource management, you can do that based on the skill sets, based on the availability, based on the workload. You can do that, and you can staff them and schedule them. So this is another use case. Other use case that we also see is the risk, because project has risks. So you can manage risks, and mitigate them in the, and you can convert the risk into an issue, the risk into a change request. All these type of things, you can do that in Clarity, right? And then the time management. So if I want to see, I spend 10 hours or 20 hours or 30 hours or 100 hours, I can see that. I can put time in there. And this time can be billable time. This can be non-billable time. So these things we are able, and you can do that time tracking from the mobile, or you can do it from the web portal. So you can enter the time, you can approve it, and you can post that timesheets, billable or non-billable. So that's another use case you're able to do that, right? And financial management. So what's the cost of the project? What's the cost of the program? What's the cost of the task? Is it time and material? Is it fixed price? Is it sign off based? Is it one time, about 100% upon payment, or so whatever your financial part related to the projects or the programs or the value streams or the products, you can do that, and it's an Excel type of things that you're able to do. If you want to track finances, right, you can do that. The other use case that we come across is the work management. So you can name your work in Clarity. You want to call it a project work, you want to call it a task, you want to call it a program, you want to call it an initiative, an idea, you can name your work. Okay, in Clarity. You can have to-do lists, you can have some checklists, and you can see work can be synced, from different sources, or you can manage the work directly in Clarity. And you can see what the status of that work is. How does this task looks like, and things like that. So this you can do, and you are able to create work, share work, automate it, and collaborate it. So let's say you have some teams and you want to create a backlog, and you want to share that backlog, and you want to share the features, or you want to share, let's say, for example, the project tasks, create the to-do list and share it and make it happen, right? So this types of work you can do. And if you want to approve that piece of work, if you want to reject it, you want to complete it, you want to alert it, you want to send an email or notifications, you are able to do that. So that's work management. Okay, and then we've got another use case, we call it agile planning and management, right? So agile planning is basically what we can do is instead of going traditional waterfall way, we are going the agile way. So when we say the agile way, we are talking about the sprints, we are talking about tasks, user stories, features, or initiative or theme. So you can create your own agile hierarchy, right, in the system, in the Rally system. You can do that. You can define your agile items, you can keep track of the agile items, and the most important thing is the time boxes, because time is sprint is everything in agile. So what's your sprint looks like, what's your release cadences, what's your milestones, what's your key deliverables, all these, and who's doing what. On the team level, you can do the agile work. On the time, you can do the agile work, right? And you can track your release. You can track, are you up for the release? Do you have some planned work? There's unplanned work, there's some issues, there is risk, there is late things. So you are able to track those releases as well, right? All right, I'm going to make a pause, guys, and check if there is any questions so far. Firas, I see that you're saying there's no voice. Guys, is anyone
Everything
having the
is
same
fine.
problem?
Everything is fine. Everything is fine. Sometimes we lose your voice, but it's depending on the bandwidth. But basically, you're clear and loud.
All right. Okay, guys, no problem. Guys, if you lose me, just bring me, please. All right, thanks, sir. All right. So guys, what's the use case 5? You want to integrate, right? Let's say I have some financial data, I have some project data, I have some program data, I have some resource data, HR data, I have some task data. You want to pull that information from different multiple sources and let Clarity become the master of these sources. You can do that. So you can connect these Clarity with all these third-party systems. For example, if you want to connect with Salesforce or Azure DevOps or Jira or IBM or ServiceNow, all these things can be done. So you can connect Clarity or Rally with third-party software, and it's very easy to do. Just drag and drop, no code, low code type of approach, and you can build your use case of what you want to do. Maybe let's say there is an opportunity in Salesforce, you want it, you got it, then you want to convert it in Clarity. Or let's say you have a request in ServiceNow, it becomes an idea in Clarity. So these types of multi-level integrations, multi-level connections you can do with the Connect All, right? So that's another thing you can do in the connections. And we have more than 70 plus adapters which you can use to connect Clarity with, and you can build your own adapters. Pretty easy to do using the APIs, right? So this is something we can do. And then if you want to look at the insights, if you want to look at the metrics, the analytics, based on the persona. So we can have that, we can have insights, and we can have different tools, contributing using the data warehouse, create no code, low code type of dashboards, in there with using the adapter. So guys, these are the use cases that we do in the innovation area. And if I may tell you, we are leader in this area. So if you pick any leading vendor, you pick Gartner, you pick Forrester, you pick IDC, latest one I'm talking about, you will find us in the top right corner, which is the leader quadrant, right? In most of it, you will see somewhere, you will see oranges. The orange one basically is outperformer. This is from the GigaOM radar. And you can see from the IDC on the right side, we are also leader in this area. Or if we talk about value stream management, there are a couple of vendors like GigaOM or Research in Action, and these are also, giving us again leader marks right in there. So guys, that was all about the innovation area. That was all about the project planning, execution, strategy area. So now we will be shifting our gears to the operational observability. Because when we were doing transformation, we are not just transforming the business, or we are not just running the projects, transformational projects or programs or initiatives. We also need to make sure when we are transforming our operation side of it, right? So this is the area we will cover today now in the AI-enabled operational observability. Okay, let me see if there are any questions so far. All right.
No,
I don't see anything. Guys, I'm moving fast because I have a lot of content to cover, but just keep it coming, right? So why, first of all, why we need this, right? And where does it start? So when you are running the operations, that means things are in production. Your servers are in production, your network is in production, your applications are in production, your infra is in production, your storage is in production, your websites are in production. Things are running 24/7. Okay, you are running the operations. But guess what? Operations is not smooth. Things tend to break down. There can be outages, there can be health issues, there can be performance issues, there can be slowness, there can be bottlenecks. How you figure it out, where the issues are, which of the infrastructure layer is causing the issue. Is it the storage? Is it the network? Is it the... So traditionally, when you're running the operations, people start blaming each other. Typically, they're blaming the network. That's the first people, they are the first people to take the blame. And they say, no, it's your fault, it's your fault. And what happens is the network team goes and they try to troubleshoot, and the server team goes, they try to troubleshoot. Everyone goes, they try to troubleshoot, and they blame each other. And it takes a lot of time to figure out the root cause. Oh, the root cause was a firewall, maybe. Maybe the root cause is storage, right? Something like that. So it's a very costly, manual, time-intensive process. What we are shifting to is AI-enabled. We do the monitoring, but we use AI in the process. We put AI on top of it, and we do as much automation as possible. We are more efficient with the AI. We are much cheaper, and we are more accurate in this area. So by applying AI, we are automating this, and we are finding the root cause. We are finding where the bottleneck is. So this is the first things that we see. People start blaming each other. Second thing, what we see at our customers is, if you walk into a customer site, there are too many tools. There are a dozen tools, that they're using. If you go to a database, they're using maybe Oracle monitoring. If you go to maybe SQL, they're using their own monitoring. If you go to Cisco, they're doing their own monitoring. So there is dozens and dozens of tools, maybe at least more than 5 tools that the customers are using, to monitor their systems. Maybe the network team use their own system. The server team there do their own thing. The database team do their own thing. The application do their own thing. So they end up having too many tools, or tool jungle, and you have security tools, you have automation tools, and all these things are doing is throwing alarms if any problem goes wrong, and they don't talk to each other. And let's say if you have a team of 20 or 50 people, but you have 1,000 alarms, how you gonna humanly remove the noise and find the root cause? Because more than 90% is noise. So how are you going to have your teams do that? So what ends up happening is, when an alarm or a ticket comes, level 1 cannot figure out what the root cause is from these different tools. They transfer the alarm to level 2. Sometimes 50% of the times they will fix the issue, but other 50% they were unable to do. Then they will send it to level 3, and they are more expensive resources, like a domain expert, right? And they solve by doing too much troubleshooting and by doing too much trial and error. So first, people are fighting among each other. Now tools are fighting because there are too many tools out there. So how to remove that fatigue, how to remove that waste? That's where AIOps and observability comes in picture. So this is the Broadcom way of doing it. So Broadcom way is divided in 4 stages. Stage number 1 is observe. Monitor as many systems as possible. Start from layer 2 and go to the layer 7. That's what we do in step 1. So we start with the network monitoring, and we monitor the networks. We monitor MPLS-based networks, we monitor VPN-based networks, we monitor firewalls, switches, load balancer, all the appliances, SNMP enabled, non-SNMP enabled, flow enabled. We are monitoring, in real time these network devices. If you run Cisco brand, no issues. If you run Juniper, Palo Alto, Meraki, doesn't matter. So we do that. But our advantage, our USP is we are going unmanaged network monitoring as well. We are not just saying that the problem can come from your network, the customer network, but it can come from third-party network. Maybe the network is hosted by Google or by Azure or some ISP like Orange or Vodafone or something, right? So we detect the issues that is coming from outside network, unmanaged network, right? Internet-based traffic. So that's one thing that we do. But what if the issue is not on the network layer? How you figure it out? It's not another issue. So then what we do is we monitor the infrastructure. So in the infrastructure, we are monitoring servers, we are monitoring virtual machines, physical machines, storage devices, Kubernetes-based containers, Docker ones, and then maybe public cloud. So we monitor all these systems, the infra, IT infra, and if we detect any issue, we alert people there's an infra issue, right? But what if the issue is not on the network layer and not on the infra layer? So then what we also do, we have APM tool that can monitor the in and out application. It can monitor each and every transactions, that comes out from the web portal or that comes out from the mobile app, that or the transaction goes into the app layer, web layer, or the query level APIs. It monitors the whole 9 yards. Right? And it tells there is an issue. There's a bottleneck in the middleware. There's a bottleneck in the database. There's a bottleneck in the iOS. There's a bottleneck in this application, in this transaction. So you can monitor the full end-to-end applications and find if there is an application issue. Right? It can be a core banking application. It can be a commercial application. It can be in-house developed applications. Doesn't matter. So this is something that we do in the application level, but also we are monitoring the digital experience or the user experience. So what happens is when you are using third-party websites, you are using, let's say, for example, some third-party websites, let's say Office 365, Salesforce.com, Zoom.com, Teams.com. So you don't have control to monitor the user experience because the servers, the infra, the app lies in the third-party systems, not in the customer system. So we use DEM or digital experience monitoring to monitor these websites, to monitor the performance and see where the issue is, right? On the website level, or on the web URL level, or on the path level, network path level. So this is what basically we do in step one. We observe whatever we can observe. Okay, this is from layer 2 to layer 7. But what we do in step 2 is we analyze that data. How we analyze it? We actually have a data lake that is coming in the analytics layer, and this data lake actually takes the data from multiple monitoring solutions and put together in one pane of glass all the data lake, or all the data. So we are talking about metric data, alarm data, topology data, logs data, the data coming from mainframe, data coming from API monitoring, mainframe monitoring, mobile monitoring, network monitoring, legacy, modern cloud monitoring. You have data at one place. In that data, we use AI and machine learning algorithms. And after we apply the algorithms, we figure out what the root cause is. Once we know what the root cause is in step 2 using AI and machine learning, we need to engage the right team. So for example, the root cause came from Cisco. I cannot ask an Oracle database guy to fix a Cisco problem, or I cannot ask a Kubernetes guy to fix an Oracle database problem. So we need the right skills, of the people to fix it. So in step 3, we integrate with ITSM, either Broadcom ITSM or either some other ITSM like ServiceNow or some other. We can integrate with these systems and we can alert the right people. They can go, they can troubleshoot, and they can fix the problem. Okay, so this is step 3 by troubleshooting. So this is where humans are involved in doing that. But we also have step 4 where we are taking actions. When we take actions, we cannot take it on each and every problem, but at least the level 1 problems we can take remediation actions to. So fixing is step number 4. Take remediation actions. So AI provides us recommendation on the actions that you can take to fix it. It will give you the ranking, the recommendation, right? You take the recommendation. If it fixes the problem, you can, and the problems can be simple: rebooting a machine, or restarting a database, or clearing up that temp space, or clearing up logs to free up disk. These simple type of actions can be taken to fix the problem. So the whole ecosystem that you can see is what we call AI and observability. So we do, step one is where we observe, we monitor. Step two is where we analyze the monitored data. Step three is where we engage the right people to troubleshoot and fix the problem. And step four is where we are taking actions on level one type of problems, right? So that's in the whole thing that Broadcom provides. If the customer use some monitoring systems, no problem. We can integrate with the systems. But if the customer doesn't like these systems, they want to replace the monitoring systems, we can do that. Okay. So this is in a nutshell what AI ops and observability is all about. I will just take a pause and see, are there any questions so far?
I don't see a new question.
All right. So guys, I will go dig down into some use cases, right? So use cases, you're going to see, the number one use case that that we see from customer is manager of manager. Because the customer says, I have a tool jungle, I have 10 monitoring systems, 20 monitoring systems, I want a single pane of glass. So we do that. That's use case number one, right? In terms of operations, right? Second use case we come across is business service. Because everyone looks at IT service. Everyone talks about storage, everyone talks about network or server, but no one talks about the business service. So we do business service where we can put IT services, as you can see here, and we pinpoint where the issue is. For example, in this case is the backend. So this is the another use case we are able to, we do that for our customers. Third one is asset inventory, monitored asset inventory. I want to look at all my assets and I want to see the health of score of my assets. We can do that from here. So that's another use case. Use case number 4 is I want to do centralized operations, centralized alarms. I don't want to look at 10 different tools, 10 different screens, and have alarms at 10 different places. So all the alarms, actually, you're going to see it over here in the use case 4, which is what we call alarm analytics, right? So this is something that you can do. It doesn't matter if it's coming from a legacy system, the alarm, or the cloud system, the mobile system, you will process it. The other use case is the capacity analytics. So we do capacity forecasting, we do capacity projections. So if we know that for example, let's say if you're doing a projection, you're doing some forecasting based on the existing trend, it will tell you that you're going to run out of disk capacity, let's say in June, or you're going to run out of memory in July, or you're going to in September, let's say you're going to run out of CPU. So it can understand if your resources are wasted, or it can understand if you are overutilized. You need more VMs, or you need to increase the size of your VMs. So these types of analytics, these types of forecasting, you can do that in AIOps. And the other thing, and again, we are using AI and machine learning algorithms for all these ones, right? There are different types of algorithms we are using, supervised and unsupervised, domain agnostic type of algorithms, and domain non-agnostic. So we are doing that. Similarly, with these algorithms, we are creating predictions. We are proactively monitoring and telling if the issues are going to come and impact the future business. So that type of predictions we can run in the AI ops area. And of course, the root cause, this is the main thing. We identify the root cause, which area is the root cause, and we alert and engage the right people, right? So that's another one. The another one use case is anomaly. So we determine the abnormal behavior without setting the threshold. Let's say if you want to put a threshold like CPU 10%, or sorry, 90% or 80% or 70%, give me major alarm, minor alarm, critical alarm. You don't need to do that. This is on autopilot, dynamic baselining, learning from the data, and it will create anomaly for you, abnormal behavior for you. So at a midnight, a backup happens and your CPU comes 90%, it's okay. If in Black Friday your memory is 90%, 95%, it's fine because it's normal behavior. So it will not create an anomaly for you. But if it's coming in morning at the regular business hours, then it will create an anomaly. So these types of analytics, performance analytics, and determining the abnormal behavior, we do that in here. So guys, what you just saw now was mostly AI and machine learning use cases, right? Which is the AI ops one. But what about the traditional monitoring? We can do the traditional monitoring. That's AI is on top of it. So traditional monitoring, we are monitoring the apps, we are monitoring the databases. So let's say you run some kind of commercial apps. You got Microsoft SharePoint, you got Dynamics, you got WebLogic, some type of apps. We can monitor those. Or let's say you create some in-house apps. You use Python, you use Java, you use .NET, or some other language, some databases. We can monitor those apps as well and the databases. So if the query response was slow, we can find that out. If the Java code failed to execute, we can find that out. If the API response was slow, we can find that out. So these types of application and database performance we are able to monitor and measure, right? Similarly, we can also monitor the real user and the synthetic user. So here we can see how many page hits happen in the website, how many requests came, which ones are healthy, which ones are not healthy, which ones broke down, which ones had error, which ones were stalled, But if let's say if it's a third-party app where you cannot monitor the real user, so you can do synthetic. So synthetic is basically a robot performing a job of a human and trying to monitor and see if there is an issue, trying to mimic the user. So this is what we do in the real and synthetic user traditional monitoring. The other monitoring we do is the network. As I mentioned, we don't do regular network only. We also do unmanaged network and managed network both. So we are monitoring not only just MPLS and VPN, but also the internet based. But in managed network with NetOps, you are able to monitor fault in your network. You are able to monitor the performance of your network. If it's a SD-WAN type of network, you can monitor those. If it's a non-SNMP type of network, you can do that. Or if it's a flow-enabled device where you want to monitor the flows, so you can do that. Or if you want to monitor the digital experience or user experience, you can do that. So these are the NOC people that they use this type of monitoring. Similarly, we have something called AppNeta, where we are using unmanaged network, or the hop by hop, we call it. So we are able to detect the issues in our area, which is the data center or the Wi-Fi or the headquarter, or is it coming from the ISP, or is it coming from the cloud service provider? So you can tell them your SLA is breaching. I'm having the issue in your side of the world, not my side of the world. So these things you can hold accountable to your ISPs and CSPs. Right? Then we got data center monitoring. These are again traditional. So what do we monitor in data center? We monitor physical server, virtual server, SAN, NAS, databases, production, DR, environment, cloud environment. All this is part of the UIM that actually we do and we monitor. Similarly, we have other use cases where we are doing storage type of monitoring, where we are doing probe-based storage monitoring. We are based on the probe. We are monitoring the performance and issues in the storage area, in the storage layer that we can do. And also, what if you want to monitor another dimension, which is log? So you can monitor logs also for the black boxes where you don't have access to the metrics, where don't you have access to the alarms, where the SNMP is blocked, or you can take the logs, you can read it, and you can, from the logs, you can make sense, and you can see if there is any issues. You can aggregate them, you can alert them, based on the query, based on the regex, based on some expression. So log analytics and monitoring also can be done. But also we are doing cloud and container, another use case. So if the customer is using some kind of public cloud or some kind of container orchestrators or HCI, no problems. We can do all of those, right? So guys, what you saw just now was the traditional monitoring use cases, of course. So we are not just a network monitoring software company or an APM software monitoring software company. We are going beyond. We are going into big picture. We are covering all the use cases. We are not just limiting ourselves to a couple of use cases. So the coverage is huge, as you can see it. Similarly, we can do ticket management. So if you want to integrate with ITSM systems, cut a ticket, and then assign it to the user, kick in SLAs, those things can be done, right? And these are all depending on the customer needs, right? Then important thing is remediation. So AIOps provides a system, the autonomous remediation or eyeball-based remediation. So when I say autonomous, immediately, when there is a problem, known problem, immediately you can execute that action. So in this example, you can see there's a Java leak, JVM memory leak. Automatically, the restart Java will happen. So these types of things we can do it, or you can just eyeball it, and you can see the ranking, you can see the confidence score, and you can execute that action and fix the problem. So these types of actions you are able to take also, with atomic integration, in the AIOps portfolio. And the last one, but not the least, is connection. Customer says, I'm using a system, I'm using Splunk, I don't want to give it away. I'm using Zabbix, I don't want to give it away. Or let's say I want to remove that. So you can replace them, but if the customer wants to integrate with them. Integrate with your existing, we don't want to replace it, we can integrate it, and we can have all the monitored data, all the operational data in one pane of glass. There are multiple methods we use. We have ODC, which is Open Data Collector, Connector, or REST Mon or Webhook. These are just different mechanisms where we collect this transactions data, trace data, metric alarm logs, all these types of data we are able to collect it, right? So guys, this was AIOps and observability. This was all about operations. This was all about making sure you find the problems, operation problems, and fix them. Doesn't matter if application layer is responsible, or network, or infra, storage, or anything, we do that. We are not limiting ourselves into legacy or a cloud or mobile. We are covering all from mainframe, and we provide automation on top of it, and we can integrate with third party. So guys, that was AIOps for you. Any questions before I move on to the automation? Questions, guys? Can you hear me?
We hear you, and no additional question. Okay. Please go ahead. Yes.
Guys, I hope you're not getting bored, huh? So, all right. So send us it in chat, huh? Send us on chat your questions. We are able to answer them. All right. So now another thing is the automation, right? Another piece of, again, this is part of the operations. But why there is a need of automation, right? I can have humans, I can have people, and they can do the things over and over. They can run the commands over and over. There is a big need of automation when there are too many different types and styles of systems. Let's say you have a legacy system, that can only understand PowerShell. There is a Windows system which can only understand Windows PowerShell. There's a mainframe system, they can only understand mainframe language. There is a data warehouse or BI system, they can only understand SQL query, right? There's an ERP system, it can only understand ABAP or some kind of proprietary code, right? There's an Excel system, so there is a web service. So one system in cloud, it can understand REST API. Another system can understand SOAP API. So these are so many different systems, modern, legacy, distributed, all these systems. They are understanding different languages. One is communicating in one language, one is doing JDBC or DBC, one is doing ABAP, one is doing REST, one is doing SOAP, one is doing Excel, one is doing PowerShell. So there are different systems. And what if these systems wants to handshake? They want to integrate with each other. They want to orchestrate something out of it. You cannot have humans going to one system, take the data out, then put it in another system, then take the data out, then run a command, do it. This will be too much time taking. This would be too much time consuming, so you have less efficiency. It's very costly to do these things, right, in the modern day, because there is an application jungle out there. So guess what? We can simplify this by putting Atomic in the picture. So Atomic provides basically automation tool. It can connect with more than 500 different applications out of the box. It can provide more than 3,000 actions out of the box, and it can connect with pretty much anything. You want to connect with mainframe, you want to connect with cloud, you want to connect with commercial software like Oracle, SAP, or you want to connect with in-house or distributed software, you can do that. So it's a single product that provides you that handshake, that provides you that integration and capabilities, orchestration capabilities, right, without going to multiple automation tools. We are doing this for more than 30 years. And the best part is you can just drag and drop and create your run book. When Atomic, we say Atomic, we are talking about workload automation. We are not talking about RPA automation, right? Release RPA. We are talking more about the workload automation that it can do. So which are the areas that Atomic covers? Doing a DR can take hours, maybe days. Why need to wait? Automate that whole thing. So disaster recovery automation is one of the areas that we provide. So let's say if you have an RPO time of 15 minutes or RTO time of 15 minutes, you can do that. You can achieve that with automation. Automatically, Atomic will do the failover, failback process. Or even if you want to do mock drills and you want to do some kind of switchover, switchback, do some mock drills, you can do that. So complex type of automation you can see you are able to do. The another complex automation you can see is Oracle and SAP. These are closed systems. They have their own proprietary language in some cases, especially the ERP. So how are you going to communicate with them? So you cannot give direct access to the application. So what you can do is you can use Atomic to create run books and automate the process. Automate your close of day process, close of month process, end of day closure process. So these things you are able to do with Oracle and SAP automation. Similarly, we have some other automation like server and cloud automation. What if you use multiple types of hypervisors or multiple cloud? In that case, you need one solution which can automate, which can provision your machine, deprovision your machine, create user, update VMs. All these types of server and cloud automation, which we call infrastructure as a service, we are able to do that. Okay. The other thing we have, I want to remediate it. There's a leak or there's a threat, security threat, or there's a data loss, so how you want to close that firewall port. So you can do that automatically. You can remediate that incidents automatically by rebooting or changing the ports or changing the behavior, changing the configuration. So these remediation actions also Automate can deliver that. How it will do, it just connects with the multiple systems. It can do the workflow orchestration, so you can create workflows, from business apps to mainframe, cloud, and make it. And you can also do self-service. So self-service is simple automation, like if you want to do a password reset, or you want to install a hardware or a software, or you want to install something, these types you can do. So again, one automation tool, you can do release, you can do disaster recovery, all these things you are able to do with multiple departments. So it doesn't matter if you have multiple tools like planning cycle, development cycle, testing cycle, deployment cycle, you have databases, you have multiple ITSM service desks. Atomic will integrate with anything and will orchestrate everything, right? So these are just some sample use cases that you see. I would say the main one that we come across, especially in the past 3-4 years, is the DR. Disaster recovery is a very complex automation, and customer needs a tool, to have their RPO, RTO time taken care. Right, so you can do incident remediation, IT security, container orchestration, cloud provisioning, file transfer automation, end of day closures. These are just some sample use cases that our customer uses. Again, it's used by banks, it's used by retails, and used by telcos and different places. Government, they use that. So guys, this was all automation. Again, we are leaders in this tool, this area. So guys, any questions so far? So that was automation. And again, guys, we are now moving to the DevOps or testing side. We were covering the operation side, right? Till now, we were covering the operation side. Now we are going to the testing side. I do see a chat question. Can you use this tool to map how fully operational firewall fluxes? Okay, so the question is, can we use this to create a map? Let's say a network map, where all the firewalls, all the proxies, all the endpoint security, everything gets connected. How the network is connected? The answer is yes. You can use AIOps and NetOps. So if you only want to do it on the network layer, you use NetOps. From NetOps, you are able to see all the network topology, right? But if you want to see the overall topology with network, with servers, with firewalls, with proxies, with apps, with services, then you use the AIOps. So AIOps will give you the full topology here. So the good question, basically, yes, we are able to do that 100%. All right, yeah, sure. If you can reach out to me separately, Resuldan, I can help you out. Okay, thank you. All right, so let's move on to the DevOps. Again, guys, when we say DevOps, we are talking more on the testing side. We are going for the testers. So what we have seen is we did a survey, and when the companies who do software production, who release software, we found that 63% of the companies, they mention testing slowing them down. Testing is the one that impacts the speed, because you don't have enough test environment, or there's an issue in the testing side of it, because you have with ChatGPT, with the Copilot, with Gemini, you can write code in minutes. In seconds you can write code, in minutes you can write code. So testing is slowing down the software development life cycle, the software production, the release. Testing is slow. In 10-15 years ago, it was the development was slow, but now testing is the slow. So how we tackle this problem? So how we make sure that the testing goes fast? So we have a tool called service virtualization. This tool provides you the testing ground. So let's say you are a company, you have developers and you have testers. Developers, they do their own testing, and testers, they do their own testing when they're doing the testing. Their whole job is to pass and fail the test cases. So there are test cases from developers. They may do some integration testing, some unit testing. The testers will do some integration testing, performance testing. All these testings they will do, but they need a testing ground. So if they're doing the testing on Tuesday, they need the testing ground. But let's say you have 10 development teams and 10 testing teams, and they need the test environment at the same time. So how they would be able to perform it? They will not be able to perform if there is only one test environment. So what service virtualization provides, it virtualizes your services. It gives you the testing ground. So you can give a copy of this service virtualized service to the testers. They can run their test. So if they want to do it on Tuesday, they will do it on Tuesday. They will not wait for the test environment to be available. So the ROI comes much faster because you don't need to, you don't need, let's say, multiple environments. You don't need to get the VMs, then you don't need to install the software, configure the software, sync it with production. No need to do that. You can just give them the copy, the service, and then take the traffic, take the response and request pair, give it to them, freeze it, give it to them, and let them test it. So that's first area that we do, and this is for the testing team, head of quality assurance. The second one, I would say this is very, very important, is test data manager, and this is because of compliance. Why this is important is, let's say, for example, in the past, what we have seen, especially 10 years ago or so, 15 years ago, we used to give developers and testers test data. These test data needs to be, a production copy, the copy of the production database. So this copy of the production database, we need to give them to the testers, and then they do testing. But what was the issue? The issue was you're exposing the data. You're exposing all the data. You're exposing credit card data. If you're, doing some testing on the credit card application, you're exposing the account numbers. You're exposing the identification, the PCI information, the PII information. Their email address, all of them you're exposing because you're getting the database of production. So the compliance came in that we need to mask the data. We need to remove that data. We need to mask the data before we test it. So test data manager, what it does, it creates fake data for you. So you don't expose the actual data. So let's say, for example, Kalman is there. So I create a fake data for Kalman and give testers access, and they can go and test it rather giving the actual data. So they can misuse that information. So what test data manager does, it can give you the data for testing in any format. You need an Oracle database, you got it, done. You need an Excel, you got it. You need an Microsoft SQL, you got it. DB2, you got it. So whatever types of format you needed, whatever type of data you needed, you need, let's say, let's say 50,000 credit cards. You need 1 gig of data. You need 10 gigs of data, 1 tera of data to do the testing. You can do that. So test data manager takes the copy of the production, do the masking and all that, and then give it to you. Right. So earlier, there used to be teams to do that. They create and manufacture test data, but that was a too costly process. Because what if you need the test data next week, then again after next week, then again after next week? Because the testers, they need to pass and fail the test. So, and the data coverage is important, right? So that's why we do that. We have test data manager. So test data manager not only just do the masking, but it has more capabilities. You can actually discover the data, and it will tell you if your data is basically risk or non-risk data. It will tell you which of the fields are risky, which ones of the fields are not risky, which ones are PI enabled, and it will tell you which ones you should mask it. And it will tell you high risky fields, it will automatically mask it for you, and it will give you the fake data. The test data, the synthetic data. You can register it, and you want it on Tuesday, you want it on Wednesday, you want it on Friday at 10 a.m., you got it, right? So you can clone it, you can got it, and basically it provides you a catalog, and from the catalog you can go and you can choose, and you got it done. So it provides in the test ecosystem, you can use that data to run the test. This is in the dev test planning cycle and release cycle we do. And also we are leaders in this area, right? As you can see that. So guys, this was the TDM, the test data manager. Any questions, guys, so far?
On my side, I don't see any new question.
All right, guys, I'm moving on. Again, I'm moving fast because we are just giving the overview of this systems. The another system that I have is ITSM platform. I'm not sure if you are familiar with the service desk, but if you are, it's been there for a very long time, this application. And again, the whole point of this application is to run your help desk and with ITL compliant standards, with ISO 20000 standards. So the another advantage or the another use case of this service desk is you want to manage your request. You have paper-based forms. You have forms in Excel. You have forms in Word. You have forms in PowerPoint. Or you have paper-based forms. You make these forms electronic. You make your approvals electronic. If you log in an incident, you can make that electronic. You can log that incidents from a mobile app. You can send an email and log an incident. You can call 800 help desk number. You can do it. So all the troubleshooting, all the resolution of problems, it can be a simple problem. Let's say I have a blue screen, or it can be a very complex problem. There's a security threat. all these tickets, you are able to monitor that in service desk. You are able to track that in service desk. But we are not limiting ourselves into just the request or the incidents. We can do change part also. What if you want to do a firewall change? There's a form and there's a process. What if you want to apply patches? There's a form and there's a process. And what if you want to do a normal change or emergency change or sometime a standard change? You are able to do all of it. But why limit ourselves into IT department? Because it says ITSM, but it's used for non-IT as well. What if HR has the issue? What if the finance has a request? They want to issue a salary certificate. What if the procurement or the legal review has to be done for a request? So we don't limit ourselves from IT. We can do non-IT as well. We have multi-tenancy in place. You can use it for external customers, internal employees, doesn't matter. You can have escalation, you can have SLAs. And the important thing is the workflows. You can use your standard workflow based on ITIL, or you can create your own workflows. And you can have a chatbot. From the chatbot, you can chat, you can log a ticket, update the ticket. You can keep track the status of the request or the incident that you open. Right, so these things you can do. But at the end of the day, let's say if you want to integrate with any other solutions, any monitoring solutions, any other automation solutions, any security solutions, you can get it done. It has multiple APIs in there. And in the end, if you want to run a report, or a dashboard on the KPIs, so let's say there is a KPI, SLA KPI, there's a security incident KPI, there's a weekly report, daily report, monthly report. These all things you can do in service desk, right? It's a heart of ITSM. But there are other tools also that you can see here. Client automation is a tool. So that tool actually provides scanning of the assets. So if you want to scan your Windows machines or PCs or Macintosh or Linux or Unix, you can do that. You can take control. You can push patches on those machines, which you have discovered. You can have full inventory of that system. You can push software. You can push patches. You can take remote control. So all these use cases you can do by scanning these assets on the network. But what about the assets which you cannot scan, which are sitting in your warehouse, which are sitting in your ERP? So that is where we have Asset Portfolio Manager. You can manage the life cycle of the assets, and you can manage the contracts, that's coming. So let's say you have a contract with IBM, with Microsoft, with Dell. You bought PCs, you bought servers, you bought printers, things like that. You can manage that in Asset Portfolio Manager. Maybe you bought the asset from a vendor or for a reseller. You can manage that. You can keep track of the vendors and resellers and any other parties that actually delivered the asset to you. You can manage the cost, the finances, the request, in terms of the assets. But at the end of the day, if you want to run a report of what type of assets you have, what are the service packs, what are the make and model, you can do that in asset management. And these are all integrated out of the box, natively integrated, and they use the same backend, in there. So you can link a request to an asset, or you can link a contract to a change and things like that. All these things can be done, right? So this is in a nutshell what ITSM platform is. It's very popular. It's been used by many customers, right? So that's it. We are coming to the last solution in our portfolio. We call it Layer 7. But before that, I will take a pause and I will see if there is any questions so far. Yes, I see there's a question about ServiceNow. Yes, ServiceNow, there's a competition, but not much, because our ITSM system, Broadcom ITSM system, is on-prem system. ServiceNow is mostly SaaS. You can do on-prem, but rarely it does. So yes, you can compete, but again, mostly we are in the on-prem space. We are cloud native, so we can install it or we can implement it in cloud, like public cloud. But yes, ServiceNow is also one of the competitor, you can say, right? But not direct. All right. So good question, guys. Any other questions before I move on to the last thing? All right. So the last tool is called Layer 7. This is an API management tool, API gateway tool. Why we need that? Because first of all, let's understand what APIs are. So APIs are a door. So typically you don't access the application directly, right? You don't access the database directly. You use APIs. These APIs are used from the mobile app. The mobile app calls the API. The IoT devices, they call the API. If you use the ATM machines, there's an API. Sometimes in websites, it uses API, right? So there are APIs. So APIs are basically door to your applications, to your systems, to your databases, right? So what happens is if the application is weak, there is OWASP, there is top 10 vulnerabilities that you will see here. So what if the APIs are weak? So you need some kind of protection from the API level. What if they had some weak authorization, weak authentication? They don't support single sign-on, or their legacy, they don't support SAML 2.0. They don't support multi-factor authentication. They are unmanaged or unsecured, right? Or they expose too much data. this API, or there is some kind of injection you can do, SQL injection you can do in the API. So API security is one of the top things that we see. So we have something called API management, mostly the API gateway we call it. So this API gateway provides multiple services. So it sits in the middle between the application end users, and it has multiple things. It's protection to the application, so it sits in the middle. So all the calls goes to the API gateway, not just to the application API directly. It handles the authentication. So let's say you have 10,000 users, you don't need to create 10,000 accounts in 10,000 100 different applications. It can, with the policy, you can manage authentication, of this. You can manage authorization, right? You can manage single sign-on. You can do, so you don't need to apply single sign-on on each and every application. You will just put it on the API gateway, and your single sign-on is tackled. It doesn't matter if it's a legacy or modern or cloud app. You can do multi-factor authentication, right? Or token, you can do OAuth, you can do. So access level, security level is one of the areas that we do. But second thing we actually come across is modernization. What if your API supports PowerShell? Or let's say it doesn't have an API, it supports JDBC, ODBC, or it supports some kind of legacy type of API, or it supports some proprietary language, or supports some SQL query. What API gateway does, it modernizes it. So when the consumers call, they will call the API, but in the backend you can call a query, or backend you can call a JDBC, ODBC, or backend you can read Excel. So that type of modernization security it can also provide. The third thing actually it can provide you is caching. So it can cache your request. Let's say the application can only handle, let's say 500 or 1000 requests per minute, but let's say 2000 requests came per minute. How you would do it? So API gateway will handle that caching, that traffic control, that throttling, that routing for you. So it will behave as a queue, for the applications, right? So this is something that you can do. The other things you can do is if you want to break the APIs into multiple microservices, you can do that. So these are some kind of thing. You don't need to apply patches on the application and all that. All it will be handled by the API gateway, because you are dealing with the API directly, right? So this is what the API management, as I mentioned, the use cases of modernization of the architectures, of securing the APIs, protecting the APIs, scalability, providing scalability. This is all what we do over here. So as you can see here, we provided security to the protected APIs, by sitting the gateway in the middle. So the routing issue, the authentication, all this would be done. So here in this case, you don't need to create many accounts. You can just use one policy and make it happen, right? So security you can do. Also, what you can do is there is something we call it the high guard, low guard. So let's say you can differentiate the response. Maybe let's say you have a less clearance, it will show you less data. But let's say if you have a high clearance, it will show you the more data. So these type of fine-grained authorization and authentication you can handle on the API, and scalability. So 100,000 requests per minute, you can scale it, you can go it, from the one gateway. You are able to do that, right? So this is something that you can do. So just to summarize, we are testing, publishing, and deploying the APIs. We are securing and managing it. We are accelerating development, and we are monitoring. The other thing I forgot to tell you is you can monitor the performance of API, or you can monitor the performance of the app. So if the API is performing slow or the app is performing slow, you can do and you can alert them, right, using the API monitoring. So this, so now the key differentiator. So we have the top 4 of the 4 credit card networks worldwide. They use API management. 12 out of 13 banks, global banks, 14 out of 17 insurance providers, they use the API gateway for the protection of their applications, of their APIs, and also, modernizing their applications and things like that. So guys, that's all I want to cover today. I hope, you had a good time and you enjoyed the presentation. I just want to ask, are there any questions so far?
I didn't see any new question, and I believe that was a very dynamic presentation, by the way. So thank you very much, Piyush. As always, it was very useful, and I believe that it is a very good overview for the colleagues. That's what type of product, what type of solution is available in the AOD portfolio. So some colleague left the meeting because they need to go to another meetings, but we released the recording session. And if you have any question, feel free to ask us. So I switch my camera.
I think we have 4 more minutes remaining, I guess, right? We have 4 more minutes. I know I tried to go fast, to make it happen. So yeah. Guys, any questions? Because I was afraid that we will not have enough time for questions, but we have 4 minutes, guys. Do you have anything you would like to ask? Because I went fast, really fast, right? So that I can cover the content. Yeah.
It's a good, Piyush, I think this is a good opportunity that the colleague, if they see any XI product, that we can continue, so we can build up a new session, and we are focusing only to the dedicated products from the portfolio. So
Right.
after we finish the webinar, and we need to close because we overrun, after we close the session, you will be redirected to the questionnaire. You need to classify the event. Moreover, we are curious that what type of topic excites for you. So feel free to fill up this questionnaire, this feedback form, and we will do the best. And because no question came, we close the session now. Thank you very much, Piyush, again. It was very useful and very dynamic. Thanks for the attention on the audience side. I hope the delivered content was useful. If you have
And I
additional
believe we'll be
questions,
sharing recording with everyone, so that everyone, if they want to rerun it, yes, I think we'll be sharing it, right? Kalman?
Yes, absolutely. So if you have additional questions, I share my contact information on the webcam. Please read the QR code and contact with me, and I will forward the request for Piyush. Or if you know Piyush contacts, then feel free to initiate the discussion with him directly. So thank you again. Have a nice day. Bye.
Thank you, guys. Have a good day. Bye.